I'm a nurse. I work in the community for the last 10 years. In March and April we were working with COVID. Although we didn't have any testing, patients were just being into hospital and not enough was known about it. On the 24th of April, the only symptom I had was a earache. I rang my manager to say that I had this terrific earache, and she advised me to go for a test, which I did. It came back positive. On the 28th of April, I was admitted to Neville Hall Hospital via a 999. I went to A&E, where I was then taken to a COVID ward for 2 days. Then I became worse. On the 3rd of May, I was put on a CPAP machine to help with my breathing, but my kidneys started to fail. So I was going to be moved to intensive care unit to see if they could help in any way. One of the hardest things I had to do that morning, because of the COVID restrictions, none of my family could visit me, my son or my daughter or my mother. I had to phone by FaceTime and say my goodbyes. On the 3rd of May, I was then took down to intensive care of the CPAP that afternoon, where I was 21 days in an induced coma. The traumatic time I had in intensive care, nightmares that I had, nightmares like I was took away from family that had to come and get me and pay ransoms to get me home. My children were told to make arrangements as they didn't think that I would last and to be prepared for the worst. They had to make a decision to have a tracheostomy put in. My children made a video and sent songs. They sent photographs, everything that they could do to the nurses to wake me back up. The nurses FaceTime my children every night and give them an update on my condition and showed pictures of myself sleeping and for my children to talk to me, which was an awful impact for them to do also. After 21 days, for some unknown reason, I woke up. I fought it. I was on the intensive care unit then for a few more days when my trachea was removed. And that time I'd had pneumonia. Both my lungs was congested. My left lung collapsed. I went to a ward then. I came out of there on the 2nd of June after being in hospital since the 28th of April. I struggled when I was home. My chest became tight. I had terrible trouble breathing. So I went back to a clinic and they took me straight back to hospital, where they done extensive tests again and showed I had terrible damage from my first tracheostomy, which showed I had a stricture in my throat, and the only way for me to be kept alive again was to have another tracheostomy, which I had to have done under a local anaesthetic, as there was no safety for me to have an anaesthetic due to no airway. I also had pneumonia again, and I also had a cluster of clots on my lungs. I was in for another month then, and then I had to learn to walk. This tracheostomy could be for life, which is obviously devastating. But I want people to know how it's affected me, but it's also affected family, friends, my work colleagues. It's affected all of us. This virus is real. It's absolutely life-changing. I'm now under a psychologist to help with my mental health state from all this, as I was an independent working nurse, a daughter, a mother, and a grandmother. Now everybody looks after me. Stay safe, do distancing, wash hands, do everything you can to make yourself safe. And it's very, very real. And the aftermath, it isn't just catching it, it's the aftermath that you've got to live with.